it definitely made my classroom global. It definitely made it a place where there were multiple perspectives, many, many different voices who were coming in. We talked a fair amount about, how do you get readers? How do you develop readers for your blog? How can you kind of start pulling them in or marketing your ideas in ways that will expand the exposure of those ideas so that potentially other people will read them and engage in that conversation. And so it wasn't just writing for the teacher. That was a huge shift. In fact, I was really surprised at how many kids, I think, the whole concept of the grade kind of just diminished for them because they were more interested in developing the connections with other skateboarding experts out there and really, asking the questions that were meaningful to them and sharing the experiences that were really meaningful to them, and having that kind of back and forth. Not that it happened, at an incredible rate. I would say probably on average, we were together for 9 weeks in those courses, and probably the average student in that class made, 2 or 3 or 4 connections, had some, 4, maybe half a dozen interactions with people outside the classroom. But the idea was that it really reduced my importance because they weren't writing for me any longer. They were writing for other people out there, and they were really shifting the way that they thought about it. And because of this connection piece, because of this commenting back piece, because of the transparency of it, they were looking for other people for feedback, not just me. And I think in many cases, depending on who those people were that they were connecting to, that feedback outside the classroom was actually even more important to some of them than my feedback was to them. Well, I think by and large, so let's define what good is, right? I mean, you can look at it a lot of different ways. I think that if you define good writing as being writing where the author's kind of passion comes through and the author's interest is obvious, I think it was good writing. There were kids who, again, I think, and pretty much merely because they were allowed to write about the things that they really cared about, they wrote more, and they were more, and since they were writing for an audience outside of the classroom, they thought more about their writing. Again, smaller steps for some, larger steps for other kids, but in the grand scheme of things, I think that their writing got better. Some of them got to good. Others were still struggling with, pretty good. But all of them moved. I can say that with confidence, is that just about every kid moved in some way toward good writing. And writing is a process, and that's the real, I think, complexity of being a writing teacher, is that every kid enters that classroom with different experiences about writing, different feelings about writing, different understandings of what those interactions are between the writer and the reader. And it's just very difficult. It's not like you can give a test and say, well, everybody knows algebra at this level, so this is where we start from, right? In a writing classroom, everybody comes in at a pretty much of a different perspective, a different feeling, a different way of doing it. And so what you hope for is that they get a deeper understanding of what that interaction is like, and I think that happened. I think by and large, kids left there with more kind of confidence in their writing. They felt they had more global conversation or a more global sense of their ideas, and I think that's good. Yeah, well, you don't know who's going to read it. And again, I think that's a shift. You're a kid in a classroom, in a high school classroom, most high school classrooms still, you're writing an essay, you know who's going to read it. It's going to be the teacher, it's going to be maybe some of your peers, but by and large, that's pretty much going to be it. So you have a pretty good sense of what the reactions are, what the expectations are, all of that. You put your stuff up online, however, and that changes the interaction, and it changes, the expectations really shift. So you don't know how people are going to necessarily respond to that, or how many people are going to read it, and you don't know what their reactions are going to be. They may be coming from different cultures, from different parts of the world. They may have, totally different experiences about whatever it is that you're writing about. And I loved my school. It's a great place, and the kids were great, but it is 99% white. It is upper middle class, and there wasn't a lot of diversity in either, race or ethnicity or ideas. And so I think that that's a huge piece of the risk kind of that you take when you put it up online. But I think it's a huge reward, the potential at least, to get those other types of points of view and to hopefully there's some serendipity in that.